Chapter 23. Sunday evening, Nick sat on his sofa staring at the television. He wasn't sure what he was watching. At the moment, he didn't care. His mind was elsewhere, the way it had been since his conversation with Charlene. Michelin had made herself scarce. Nick figured she was still harboring ill feelings towards Rico Argela. In his opinion, she had every right. Aside from the fact that he torched her car and ransacked her motel room, he turned around and handed her $40 to pay for the window he bashed in, when he knew full well the damage was closer to $400. Then, to add insult to injury, the bills he gave her were counterfeit. It was safe to assume that Michelin had no idea the bills weren't genuine at the time. If she had known whom she was dealing with, she wouldn't have been as trusting. In the end, Rico blindsided her the same way he had blindsided Charlene. It was out of trust that allowed Michelin and Charlene to believe Rico was trying to be sincere, when in reality he was setting them up. What arrogance! Nick frowned. Nick noticed that Michelin seemed fine at the office yesterday, but silence slipped in again on their drive back to the house. Perhaps being a passenger with no place to call home for the time being reminded her of what she'd lost. The guilt she had to endure rested heavily on his shoulders. After all, had it not been for him, she would still have a job. Nick stood up and stretched with a yawn. Turning around, he stopped as he saw Michelin standing in the doorway of the living room.
"Hey,"
Nick managed, not knowing how long she'd been standing there. She walked over to him.
"What is it?"
he asked, taking her hand into his own.
"I've been giving it some thought. I can't stay here,"
she said, folding her arms across her stomach.
"Tonight's meatloaf isn't that bad."
Michelin smiled.
"Nick, I'm serious. You can't stay here either."
"Where is this coming from?"
Nick said, gently drying the tear that ran down her cheek. She closed her eyes, reveling in the warmth of his touch.
"I can't stand the thought of your home becoming a target because of this case. You have to think about your children."
"I have thought about them. That's why I got them out of Callahan as soon as I could."
"Rico's not going to stop until he finishes what he came here to do. Then your children would not only be without a home, but without their dad, and I can't."
She tried to turn away from him, but Nick pulled her into his arms.
"It's going to be okay,"
he whispered.
"It's not. And you know it. It's like you're refusing to see how serious all of this is. You're trying to be strong for everybody."
"That's right, I am. And right now I need you to be strong for me."
"You're right,"
Michelin said, trying to regain her composure. She was about to say something when there was a knock at the door. Nick turned to see who it was, but the only thing he could see were a few dark strands of hair that stood up from the base of the small, diamond-shaped window. Having recognized those strands, he chuckled.
"Hold that thought,"
he said, going over and removing the chain from the latch. He opened the door.
"Good evening, Sheriff,"
Rippa Carey said, staring up at him. Beneath the dark eyeshadow, matching lipstick, and facial piercings lurked a scared teenage girl.
"Rippa, come on."
Michelin walked over to the sofa where she stood, watching Rippa enter the living room.
"Miss Stone, this is Rippa Carey. She's a friend of Chase."
"Oh, it's nice to meet you."
Michelin smiled with relief, giving Nick the impression that she thought the girl was there for him. Nick had to inwardly laugh himself.
"Likewise,"
Rippa told Michelin.
"Please, have a seat. What can I do for you?"
Nick asked, even though he already knew why she had come. Rippa looked at Michelin and then back at Nick. Getting the feeling that the matter was private, Michelin excused herself and went to the other room.
"Sheriff,"
Rippa began again once they were alone.
"I know the reason Chase was suspended from school. Everybody's talking about the drugs Principal Grant found in his locker. I just hope you don't think I had anything to do with it."
"Why would I think that?"
"I don't know. I just don't want you to."
"No, Rippa, the thought never crossed my mind."
"It's just I haven't heard from him since he left school. I even tried to call him, but he hasn't returned any of my calls."
"I see."
"Is he here? His car's out front."
Rippa said, stretching her gaze around the corner as if hoping to get a glimpse of him.
"No, he isn't."
"I don't understand. This isn't like him. I keep thinking back to the last time we talked. I didn't say anything to make him angry. At least I don't think I did."
she said, fidgeting nervously with her fingers. Nick wasn't a real fan of Ripa's, but he didn't want to see her go through this.
Chase went to spend some time with his mother.
Nick said, sounding convincing enough.
Pardon me for saying, Sheriff, but I didn't even think Chase knew where his mama was.
At this, Nick chuckled.
I thought it'd be a good idea for them to spend some time together, since I've been busy with work.
Oh, that makes sense,
she said, trying to piece it together in her mind.
But has he even asked about me?
She asked with eyes that needed him to lie if necessary.
I haven't talked to him as much as I'd like, but the good news is that he'll be home soon.
Did he say when?
Ripa pressed. Nick was beginning to regret having started this lie, seeing how she wasn't turning the subject loose.
I guess he didn't,
Ripa said sadly, obviously mistaking his silence for his answer.
There's no definite time, but I'm sure he'll be home before his suspension is over.
I hope so. Thank you for your time, Sheriff.
Sure thing, Ripa. Get home safely now.
Good night,
she said as she went to the door and opened it, closing it behind her.
Is everything okay?
Michelin asked. Nick turned around to her.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
How are you holding up?
Michelin asked, moving her arms around his waist.
Me? I'm great. Why wouldn't I be?
From what I heard, Chase's friend sounds afraid.
Which brings us back to your point.
My point is, Michelin continued,
this thing is affecting everyone. As close as she is to Chase, what if she's Rico's next target?
That's why I didn't tell her anything.
You think she'll let it go?
I hope so,
he said, wishing that Michelin would let it go as well.
I know I've been obsessing over this. The truth is, since I've been an agent, I've had access to classified government intelligence, as well as the support of a team that if I knew I needed them, they were there. Now that security's gone, and I'm questioning whether I was as strong as I thought, or was I strong because I was standing behind Sid.
I know this has been hard on you, but you're going to have your life back.
You don't know that, Nick. I mean, I'm just like everyone else who's sitting back waiting for this maniac to strike. Look the way he called 911 after torturing my car. It's like he's trying to pass himself off as a decent human being when everything he does has some kind of sick, twisted motive behind it.
Rico calling 911 wasn't about him trying to be decent. That was his way of showing you what he's capable of doing. But first, he had to let you know that he was here in Callahan. It's a game to him. The thing you have to understand is nothing he did was about you. He was using you to get to me. He knows that Charlene notified your department, and if he can get you out of the way, he'll only have to deal with me.
This is out of control. You've seen Charlene. She's terrified of this man, and I'm sure she has a good reason to be.
Charlene is going to be fine. My question to you is, would you feel safer if you left?
Callahan?
Would you?
Is that your way of keeping me safe?
If it comes to that.
Nick, you're part of me now.
I know. I also know that after this case is closed, you'll leave.
But that time hasn't come yet.
I forgot. That's the subject we're not supposed to talk about.
We will. It's just not a good time. Please understand that.
I do. Listen, I'm going to go down to the station for a while. Are you going to be okay here until I get back?
I'll be fine.
She leaned close and kissed his lips.
Be careful,
she whispered as he smiled and then laughed. It was a little after 7 when Nick arrived at the station. He went into the office where he saw Charlene asleep on the cot in her cell. He was relieved that she wasn't awake to ask about the progress he'd made on the case since the last time she saw him. Unfortunately for them both, Nick hadn't done anything more.
Excuse me, Sheriff.
Nick heard as he looked up from his work. There in the office door stood Jacob Larson's mother. Her voice awoke Charlene as she shifted a bed and went back to sleep. Nick had only seen Jacob Larson's mother once, but the sullen look on her face was the same as it was the day he came to the house looking for Jacob.
Hello, Miss Larson. Please, come in. Have a seat.
Nick said, rising from his seat.
What can I do for you?
After a pause to collect her thoughts, the woman began talking at the same time Nick thought to offer her a cup of coffee.
No, thank you,
she said before beginning again.
I'm sorry to stop by unannounced. It's just that you said if I had any information on Jacob that I should tell you.
Yes, I remember. Have you heard from him?
Jake called the other day and said he was sorry for all the trouble he caused. He also said he wasn't coming back.
The sound of her voice told Nick that she was on the verge of breaking down. Not that he could blame her, Jacob being her only son.
Where did he call from?
I don't know. The caller ID said unavailable, but he sounded scared and distracted. He said as long as they were after him, he couldn't come back.
Who was he referring to?
This man, I don't know his name. He called a couple of days ago asking all sorts of questions about Jake's whereabouts, and I told him I didn't know where he was or what he was doing. He told me Jake had less than 24 hours to contact him, or I wouldn't have to worry about Jake anymore.
Would you recognize his voice again if you heard it?
Not really. He just sounded straight and to the point, businesslike.
Did he sound like he was from around here, or maybe up north?
He sounded like he was from here, I guess. At first, he sounded like he was a friend of Jake's, but when I couldn't answer his questions, he got angry.
What did he say exactly?
Just that he was looking for something that belonged to him, like a package or something. He didn't say what it was, but it sounded pretty important. He said that time was running out and that Jake owed him some money. I don't know. I tried to do that automatic redial, but the operator said my call couldn't be completed. Have you heard anything from him?
No, not yet. We're still looking. Mrs. Larson, has your son mentioned anyone by the name of Rex Skinner, Howard Cayley, or Ryan Hollis?
I don't know any of my son's friends. He's pretty quiet about those things.
I wouldn't exactly call them friends. They're more like business associates.
Wait a minute. Ryan Hollis? Is that Mr. Hollis from the school?
Yes.
My son has dealings with that man.
From what I've heard.
Well, where is he? Maybe he knows where Jake is.
I'm doing everything I can to make sure he doesn't find him.
I see,
she said, understanding what Nick was implying.
Well, it's getting late. I have to get back. If you hear anything, please let me know.
I will.
Thank you, Sheriff. Have a good evening.
You too,
he said as the woman got up and left. Charlene raised up with a heavy sigh as she rested her head against the wall.
Charlene, how are you holding up?
Nick asked, going over to the cabinet where he began preparing her soup and crackers.
Right now, it seems a little better than you,
she said, walking over to the bars where she stood, watching him.
I don't doubt that.
Nick chuckled, tossing the empty soup can into the trash.
What's on the menu tonight?
Chicken noodle.
Not my first choice, but it'll do.
So, what all did you hear just now?
Nick asked, plugging the hot pot cord into the outlet.
That woman's son is probably long gone from here.
For his sake, I hope you're right.
Rico wasn't always the monster he is today. He'll find him and kill him without giving it a second thought.
I'm aware of that. Do you think Rico is the one who called her?
No, Rico doesn't make his own phone calls.
Sure he does. I've got proof.
No, you don't, Sheriff. That's what he wants you to think. But Rico isn't full-headed enough to leave anything that could be traced back to him.
You're wrong. I have a positive idea on a caller who torched a car the other day. It was Rico or Jayla.
If that's true, it's worse than I thought.
Why is that?
His priorities have changed. There's no telling what he'll do.